Hello and welcome to this training. My name is Stephanie. I am your host here at the Intentional IEP in Mrs. D's Corner. I'm a veteran special education teacher and your resident IEP coach. And I'm so excited for this training today because we're going to be talking about the IEP writing timeline. What is that? What does it mean? Well, let's just say if you are a teacher, whether you are a new teacher or a veteran teacher, and you are struggling with when do I send this or what do I send or when is the IEP meeting coming up? When do I need to schedule what? What do I need to do in between now and then, and even afterwards? This training is for you. The first thing you want to do in the video description of this training, there is a link for this free download. This is called our IEP writing timeline. It is free. It is always free. You can download it below. There's also another link down there for a second free resource that we're going to talk about, and it's the IEP meeting checklist. We're going to use both of these together today to go over all of the things IEP writing process and IEP meeting holding. Again, you're going to need these two free downloads. They're linked below this training. So go ahead, download those quick, and then come back and meet me so we can get started. All right, now that we are all on the same page with all of the things, we have both of these things downloaded. Let's get started. So first of all, you're going to see this and there's some dates on here and it's going to say 45 days out, 30 to 45 days out, 30 days out. From what? What day are you talking about, Stephanie? So every child on your caseload has an IEP due date. That is when their annual IEP has to be held by. Now, what does that mean? That means you're going to take that date and let's just say that that date is August 1st. Okay, we're going to say it's August 1st. And so on August 1st, we have to, by that date, hold that child's IEP meeting. So Stephanie's annual IEP meeting has to be on or before August 1st, right? Or we are out of compliance. And so this is where the timeline is going to come in. So 45 days before August 1st, so you're talking mid-June, this is when you're going to start thinking about those common meeting times with the rest of your IEP team, including the child's parent. Because 30 to 45 days out, this is why these two go together, is that you're going to send out that invite to the rest of the IEP team. Now, scheduling often feels like a humongous traffic jam when it comes to scheduling all things IEP meetings. And I know in the state of Texas, there is an ARD facilitator who schedules all the meetings. I've also worked in schools in Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Delaware where I had to handle all of the things. And so depending upon who's doing what, if you're scheduling the meeting or you're not scheduling the meeting, you still want to make sure you know these timelines of when things are going out because at the 30-day out mark, so yes, we're sending out, starting to talk about that annual IEP meeting, right? We're trying to find common meeting times. And then we're going to schedule that meeting and put something on the calendar. I need to know when that meeting is if I'm not scheduling it. I still need to know when it is because around the 30-day out mark from that meeting, I need to send out input forms. Well, Stephanie, what are input forms? I'm so glad you asked. Let me share them with you. These are all going to be linked below this training. So if you want to grab any of them, we do have a bundle. I will say the paraprofessional one, it is free. If you want to download, I'll link that here. But if you want an editable version, that's also in the shop. But if you just want this PDF, it is free. I'll link it below here as well. The other ones are all in the shop. They are editable in PowerPoint, so you can change them. They also include a digital Google Form version for all of these. Okay, so in the shop, they're editable in PowerPoint. You can print them out. The PDF is included as well. And you get the digital Google Form option as well that you can edit and change out anything. So you're going to be sending out these input forms. These are questionnaires that you're going to be sending out to the general education teachers that are working with the student. You're going to be sending out one to the parent of that child. So you're getting information from the parent. You're going to be doing a student questionnaire. There's two different versions here for students who need more support or less support. Okay, so you could use either one of these. And then there again is that paraprofessional because they work with our students. A lot of the times they're with them in the general education classroom when we are not with our students there. They see a lot of things at recess and specials in the lunchroom that we don't get to see if we had two sets of eyes. We could see everything, but the paraprofessionals are our second set of eyes, right? And our third pair and our fourth pair. Paraprofessionals are the backbone of special education, okay? So we need their input, and it's very, very vital that we get their input. That's why we have them included. So at that 30-day mark, you're going to send out these input forms. Why are we sending it out 30 days out? Because we want to give the team members time to fill them out, but if they need a gentle nudge or a gentle reminder, which is why you'll see this sample here, I've included a couple of stickers and a nice little note, to entice them to get this back to me quicker. The sooner I get this back, the more data that I have for the present levels that I can start drafting at this 45 days out to 30 days out mark, I can put this data in the present levels, and that's when I can start working on that proposed draft IEP. Now, in the world of special education, a proposed draft IEP is probably one of the most highly debated topics, again, in special education. I am of the mindset that draft IEPs are beneficial to everyone on the team. However, there is a line of predetermination. So for me, my recommendation to you is when you are sending out a proposed draft IEP, it should only include the proposed IEP goals and objectives, which are based off of the present levels data. So your proposed draft IEP should only include the present levels, which is all data. Data is fact. Data is not an opinion. None of that information is going to change. You can reword it to maybe be more strengths based or student centered, but the data, the numbers are not going to change, right? So the present levels is our meat and potatoes of the IEP. It's where everything lives. It's our Bible of the student. And so we choose our goals based off of need in the present levels. We say proposed goals because this is what we're proposing based off of the data. Then we can have the conversation at the IEP meeting, which we'll get to about changing all the things. Nothing is set in stone with the draft IEP, but it levels the playing field for the parents and for everybody else on the IEP team. It gives parents the same information that the rest of the IEP team has coming into that meeting. And it also gives you a step ahead at the meeting because they have all the data. They may have questions about the data. It also, like I said, levels the playing field because then they have time to sit and think with it and not be very overwhelmed with all of the things. So let's talk about it now. Draft IEP. Why did I talk about the draft IEP? 45 days out, we're going to talk about times. 30 to 45 days out, we're sending invitations, we're sending out input forms. 14 to 30 days out is when we're writing that IEP. So after I'm sending this information, I'm scheduling the meeting, that's when I'm going to start writing the IEP. I'm going to start with the present levels because that's where all the data is. I can't write an IEP without the present levels. I can't choose goals, accommodations, modifications, support services. I can't determine anything without the data in the present levels. And I shouldn't be determining anything beyond the proposed IEP goals. Maybe accommodations, modifications if they're aligned to your IEP goals, and that's a whole other conversation. But nothing else should be determined before then because that is predetermination of services, right? So I'm only writing the present levels and the proposed IEP goals. Okay. Then why was I talking about the draft IEP? 3 to 14 days out, you're going to send home that proposed draft IEP goals and the present levels. And it even says present levels and IEP goals. Okay. 3 to 14 days. Why is there such a wide array here? Why doesn't it just say 3? Why doesn't it just say 14? Because now we're getting down here and the numbers are smaller. So why there? Because some states have a requirement. I know in the state of Texas, I had to send my proposed draft IEP 14 days prior to the IEP meeting. Calendar days, not school days, calendar days. And so that was the requirement that I had per the state and the district that I worked in. There are some states that do require it within 3 days. Some states require 5, some say 10. So I leave this open to fit whatever your school or district says. However, there are some schools, some states that don't say you have to send a draft IEP. That is why my recommendation is if you're not currently doing it, you're not currently sending a draft IEP, start with 3 days. 3 days before the IEP meeting, I want you to send home the proposed draft of the present levels and the drafted IEP goals. Now, school days. Not calendar days. If you're not doing it now, I want 3 school days. Why? Because let's say you have an IEP meeting on Monday and maybe you're not sending home their proposed goals till Friday or maybe even Thursday afternoon. And so Thursday afternoon at night, maybe the parents are taking the sibling to a track practice, or they have basketball or sports or something, or they had a birthday party that they were preparing for this weekend, so they were just really busy, or maybe they have doctor's appointments, all of the things, right, that go on at home that we don't see or hear anything about. And so that just leaves Friday. So we are expecting that parent then, if we're only doing 3 calendar days, to read that IEP within 12 hours, if that, because come Friday at whatever end of contract time is, we're offline. Now, if you are on, that's a whole other conversation, right? But then Monday morning is the IEP meeting. We haven't had a chance to have that conversation about, do you have any questions or any concerns? Anything I can clear up for you? What do you think about these goals? So that's why I'm saying make sure if you're not doing it yet and you're doing 3 calendar days. So when you look at a calendar, 3 school days rather, 3 school days, you're looking back. So the meeting is on Monday. You're going to count 3 school days per your school calendar. So that might be Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. You need to send it home Tuesday afternoon. 3 school days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That gives you plenty of time to follow this IEP writing timeline and check back in, but also check back in just out of your own goodwill and love of that student. Okay, so let's get off the draft IEP. I'm going to leave some blog posts linked below here if you want to read more about the benefits of them and what to and do and how to do all the things. 1 to 7 days. So draft IEP 3 to 14, 1 to 7. Again, wide array because it depends on how many days you're sending this out ahead of time. Follow up with the parents on the draft IEP. You just want to follow up with them, ask them if they had any questions about the data. What do you think about the goals? Do you want to add anything for the proposed goals? Do you want to take anything out? Do you want to work on a different skill? Again, you can have these conversations prior to the IEP meeting and it kind of sets you at a step ahead. So then you can start talking about services, supports, let's change these goals, what the objectives need to be, all those things, right? Then you're 5 to 7 days out, you're going to confirm the IEP meeting with the team and you're going to check room availability. Now, I've held IEP meetings in my own classroom. I've held IEP meetings in the library. I've held IEP meetings in a office in the actual office area, like a class or like a table in the office area. And then we had a designated meeting room at a different school that I worked at. So whatever works best for you, just want to make sure that you have the room and that it's available. You also want to make sure the technology works. 1 to 3 days prior to this, you're going to have your pre-IEP meeting, and then there's the term staffing. I'll leave a blog or I'll leave a video link below here what the difference between the two is. In my experience, staffing is not a great thing. That is often where predetermination happens. I leave it here because I want you to know they do happen. They shouldn't be happening. Pre-IEP meetings, though, again, I'm going to leave the video linked below here, would be you meeting with a general education teacher to say, what supports do you need per what I'm proposing at this IEP? What do you propose? What's the student going to need? What supports do we need to write into this IEP for you and also for the student? Talking to the parent, having that conversation as a pre-IEP meeting. What did you think of the draft? What questions do you have? Again, we're not predetermining anything. We're having conversations before the meeting to set ourselves a step ahead and set us up for success. 1 day out, you're going to print all the documents that you need for that IEP meeting. I like to do this the day before because you never know if you have a Monday morning meeting at 8 a.m. and you come in at 7, the internet's not working, the printer's out of ink, there's no paper in the copier, like just technology could just go wrong. So for my own anxiety, I like to make sure that everything is printed and ready to go if I have to print anything beforehand. I also like to check technology before the meeting happens. If we're going to be showcasing anything for a student-led IEP, I'll leave a blog post linked here for you for that. Or if we're showcasing the IEP up on the board, or if we're doing a virtual meeting, I want to make sure all the things work. So I want to check those things. Then on the day of the IEP meeting, you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. So let's talk about this other download now that I provided to you, which is our IEP meeting checklist. This purple sheet of paper, you can print it on any sheet of paper that you would like. It gives you a checklist of things to do before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the IEP meeting. So these two things go together. Now, before the meeting, you're going to send the consent to assess, you're going to send the invitations, you're going to have the meeting scheduled, you're going to notify members, you're going to send out the input forms. The before the meeting aligns with your IEP writing timeline. So if you are following this, you're checking off all of this, okay? Then it moves to during the meeting. You want to make sure that you're bringing the following items, you're discussing the following things during the meeting. Then after, hold on, let's back up. During the meeting, your IEP agenda, your IEP meeting agenda should align with this. If you need an IEP meeting agenda, I'll link ours from the Intentional IEP shop so you can check them out. After the meeting, then, there are a couple of things that you do need to do afterwards. You need to finalize the IEP, make any necessary changes that you need to make to that IEP before you finalize it. Call or email the parents to check in with them about 48 hours afterwards. Even if the meeting went really, really well or it didn't go well at all, you want to call and check in. That just shows your good intentions and the love that you have for that student and that you want to support that family. Call and check in, email and check in. just it'll build such positive rapport with the families that you have, whether the IEP meeting went well or it did not. You're going to make copies and send out all those copies, hand out the copies to the rest of the IEP team at the school, send home a finalized copy to the parent, and you're also going to distribute those copies and make sure you get those acknowledgments signed that they have received and read the IEP. We have one in the intentional IEP membership as well, so I will link that here. But these two free resources are going to prepare you for success for your next IEP meeting and every IEP meeting after. Because once you do it once and you set those habits, it's just going to be a continuum of good habits for having and setting those IEP meetings up and holding them and following through at the end. Again, don't forget to check the links below this training. There's other blog posts, other videos related to things we've seen and talked about here. There's some shop resources. There's some free resources. I also mentioned the paraprofessional input form. That is also a free resource. If you need any other resources or anything, I'll link the Intentional IEP website as well as our shop here on the Intentional IEP. Thank you so much for being here to learn more about the IEP writing timeline and what that may look for you in your classroom and with your caseload, and for learning more about the IEP meeting checklist. If you have any additional questions at any time, please reach out to us. I am always here and happy to help. You can leave a comment on this video here, or you can send us an email at support@theintentionaliep.com, and we'll get back to you ASAP to help you fit this into your current caseload and with the students that you're currently servicing. So thank you again so much for being here to learn more, and I'll see you in the next training.